Hilary Hauck. She is with us this morning in the studio. So good to meet her. She's an author, has a really fascinating take on this book. I can't wait to hear about this as she tells us about her book, Hilary, which is called
From Ashes to Song. And thank you so much for having me, Todd.
From Ashes to Song. And our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. People are going to notice right away, you're not from this neighborhood, are you?
That's right, yes.
But there is a local connection to your book, and really it's a strong local connection. It's part of the whole premise, isn't it?
Absolutely. From Ashes to Song is inspired by three people. It's inspired by the true story of three Italians who immigrated to the area, and they actually landed in Ernest, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. All right, so give us the premise of the book. We're Italians in Italy, but coming to America. And then the particular protagonist of the book loses his grandfather, loses the family vineyard, and take it from there.
Okay, so he has lost two of the most important things in his life. And the third thing is music. He is a musician, a brilliant musician, but even that is hanging by a thread, especially in the coal mines of Ernest, where his clarinetist's hands blister and the coal dust is ebbing away his breath. Mm-hmm. But then he finds inspiration once more in the beautiful voice of Assunta.
Oh, so I'm assuming we're talking early 20th century?
That's right. They came over in 1911.
And how did you come upon this particular story?
Well, I didn't come across the story in London, which is where I'm from. Mm-hmm. When I first came over to the U.S., I landed in Culver, Pennsylvania, which is another coal mining town. Mm-hmm. It was a little bit different, as you can imagine, from London. I'd also lived in Milan for 12 years before coming here. It was very different. I was used to millennia of history, and here you have about 90 years of history concentrated in one town. And I found it absolutely fascinating. And I loved hearing everybody's stories. Everybody had a grandparent or a parent's story of people who came over. And one day I met a lady called Irene Smilnicki, mm-hmm. and she is Pietro's daughter. And she started telling me her family story, and I was fascinated and hooked.
The story of how Hilary ends up in Culver and not Revlock is fascinating enough for me.
Right.
But my goodness, so you take this little bit of a thread that she has given to us and you weave it into a big story.
Yes, well, actually, the family story is quite big. A lot of the events that are in the book really did happen. Mm-hmm. The births, deaths, and marriages are all true. Some things I moved around, so they happened to different people or they happened at different time. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the story was actually inspired by the journey of these three people. It really is quite fascinating.
I'm always interested in how someone puts together a story, how you construct what ends up being the book From Ashes to Song. So you have the story that is going to form the foundation of what you're going to write. You have to gather the information, form it into a narrative, get it onto the page. Tell me about that process.
Well, it kind of sounds easy, but it's like taking a jigsaw puzzle of 90,000 words and putting them in the right order. Mm-hmm. Some people say writing a novel is akin to sitting down and getting, blood out of the page. So I thought having true events might make the process easier. Mm-hmm. But if I tell you, I started the novel in 2007 and it was published this year in 2021. So you can imagine it was a little bit harder than I thought. Yeah. So to make the events compelling as a novel, I really had to discover the emotional journey of the characters.
Were there starts and restarts?
There were rewrites more than
rewrites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this novel has been written several times.
Yeah. And as the process has unfolded, it can grab a hold of you and not let go. Were you able to find your space?
It would not let me go. So even when I had rewritten and still the story wasn't quite there, perhaps I would step away for a little while, for a few months. There was a whole year when we built a house, but the story was always there. It wouldn't let me go. Yeah. That's why I had to keep with it.
And I'm sure it took a lot of people encouraging you to not let it go as well.
Absolutely, yes. In the writing community, my family, my friends, yes.
Were you writing other things at the same time that you were working on this?
Yes, yeah, I've got another novel. It's in quite good shape, and I've got several short stories and poems.
So you've been busy all through this process, but this thing here is always sometimes on the back burner, and you move it forward to the front burner, and you work on it pretty intensively, and then you're able to back away from it from a little bit. When you do that, and you have that process of writing, I'm sure that coming back to it, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but to me it would seem that coming back to it after having set it aside for a while might take a little bit of time to get right back into the flow, but when you do, the creativity really flows right at the beginning of that process.
Absolutely, it does. And it's always quite amazing to find what was actually on the page before and what needs to be on the page now. But the characters are always kind of with me. So,
did it surprise you the way the book turned out, the end? Was it something that when you began the process, you said, this is what's going to happen in this book, this is how this story is going to unfold, and I'm just going to be the conduit through which it flows onto the page, but then you get to the end and you say, boy, that was new. That was something I didn't expect. Was it one of those, or did it go exactly how you planned it?
You kind of described it, but not the end. I had the end quite early on. It was the middle that was more of a surprise than...
Yeah. Well, I know that you said that it sounds kind of easy. It does not sound easy by any means. To put this together, as the number of years you put into it really demonstrates. So now it's out, and you have the opportunity to get reaction from people as they're able to read the book. And at the Artist's Hand coming up, you said on Saturday?
That's right, Saturday, June the 5th.
You're going to do a book signing from what time to what time?
Yes, from 12 to 2. So, and I'll be there talking about the book. I've got some great pictures of the people who inspired the story, and I'll take questions, and it'll be really interactive.
Now, from those people who have helped to contribute with stories of their own families, I'm sure that some of them have had a chance to read what you've written. What has been their reaction?
Honestly, it's been tears.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's been very emotional. I don't think I took a breath from the time they got the book until the time they gave me the feedback. But yes, there have been a lot of tears and hugs, and they really appreciate the story, which I was very nervous about because it's their family story.
Yeah. You want to be faithful to them and to the fact that they were so open with you to give you the information and to give you some real foundations on which to build the story. And you certainly want them to get out of it what you intended for them to.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow. This is really, really an interesting thing. So coming up on Saturday, people are going to be able to meet you,
Absolutely.
spend some time about it, and learn about the book, which is called From Ashes to Song. This is going to be happening at the Artist's Hand Gallery in Indiana. And
that's right. We're also going to have some live music because the main character is a musician. So we'll have live piano with Robin Malloy.
Okay.
And the petal and the stem will also be here because in the story, Assunta grows dahlias. So the petal and stem will be doing a dahlia special.
Oh, wonderful. That musical aspect of this and the way that people have their hopes and dreams for their lives and think they might turn out, and particularly in the time span in which you're talking about, that was probably not all that uncommon. People had dreams of being baseball players. They ended up in the coal mines. Dreams of being great musicians. They ended up in the coal mines. Dreams of being a teacher or pursuing some other life's passion ended up in the coal mines, which was a really, really difficult life. I'm sure those stories came back to you again and again and again.
Yes, I think there are a lot of extraordinary people who came over in that period. And I really hope, this is a story of one family, but I really hope it pays tribute to everybody. It was an amazing generation, and they gave so much to their kids and their grandkids.
Well, congratulations on the book. I'm so glad to meet you.
I'm very glad to meet you. And actually, I bought a copy of the book for you.
You did? For me?
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. It's called From Ashes to Song. It's a novel by Hilary Hauck. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
It's a hawk, so like the bird.
Okay. All right. So I apologize for that, but I'm really looking forward to reading the book because it sounds like such a wonderful story. And, I'm a voracious reader, so I'll look forward to this. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Again, Saturday from
12 till 2.
From noon to 2 at the Artist Hand Gallery in downtown Indiana. It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. 1160.